Good morning. Nice to see you, brother. Thank you.
The main thing that I have come to convey on behalf of President Biden is that, we stand with you. We are really aware at the highest levels of the U.S. government of just how perilous this moment is for you. I wish that Sri Lanka was the only country in the world experiencing crisis right now, because it would make it easier to concentrate resources and political attention. I've just come from Pakistan, a third of which is underwater, for example. I'm hopeful that the developments in Ukraine in the last day might make a peace agreement more possible. It's very dramatic events there. You all follow football. That war, in addition to its brutality, is such an own goal, for the Russian Federation, but it's an own goal as well for the world's economy and for fuel prices and for fertilizer prices, with Russia as the #1 fertilizer exporter. So the heartbreak inflicted by that war just ripples across the planet in ways that are devastating. But I feel personally very connected to this country. My previous meetings with the president, of course, almost all of them occurred with Mangala there, creating mischief and always with ideas and great creativity about how to bring people together. And I think in our country, in the United States, and in your country, that's one of the biggest impediments to the kind of progress you are looking to make is polarization. And that you see at the local level so much solidarity in your country. We see the same in the United States. At the community level, that solidarity is there. But at the political level, it is so important in a time of crisis for people to come together. And, we certainly are here to come together with you and to help take advantage of this rare window of opportunity, also to make the kinds of changes, for you to be able to make the kinds of changes that have been proposed for so long. I mean, questions about whether the private sector can be unleashed. You have such an incredible private sector, such entrepreneurship, but the government, over so many years has largely stood in the way of unlocking that potential instead of fueling it. Mangala used to say, as you know, government has no business running business. And what was done in the telecom sector, if that could be done in other sectors in an expeditious and transparent way, just again to unlock the potential of your people, it would be incredible.
Firstly, must thank you for the $40 million for the farmers, which will help us because we are about to launch a food security and nutrition initiative, which will go down to the 14,000 basic administrative units in the country. And we are making use of all the officials, plus the private sector and others, to ensure that we are self-sufficient in rice and many of the other foodstuffs. We have a good maha cultivation, that's the main season, then the economy gets stabilized. And if you go to the smaller season, also 2023, that will help us certainly in a big way. As far as democracy items are concerned, the 22nd Amendment is before Parliament. We are waiting for the Parliament to pass it. In administrations, we brought out the first cabinet manual in Sri Lanka. That will have go before the cabinet and establish procedures for the whole of the cabinet. The oversight committees are back again, and we'll be looking forward to support from the USA, with one difference, that in addition to the members of Parliament, there will be 5 youth representatives, people under 35, who will be there. They have the right to ask questions to the chairman, and they cannot contribute to the main report, but we are giving them addendum, so they can say whatever they want on the report. Thereafter, it will be in print. This is the first time it's happening in the world, and we'll have to select the 5 members. What's called a youth parliament, that will legislate for that and bring it under the law. A committee on public accounts, committee on public enterprise, to include the ways and means committee, a committee on banking and finance, but the banking sector is relatively weak, and a committee on state enterprise restructuring. We start a parliamentary budget office, and for the first time a legislative research service in Parliament. We've just approved, and I've asked the Women's Caucus to prepare the Women's Equality and Empowerment Bill. It's the first one, I think it'll be the first one for the region. PTA detentions, we've talked with the Tamils, we've agreed on a formula that will set off against the judgment the period in detention. Since they have all had more than 10 years, no judgment will more than 10 years. It will be out except for the few who had bombed the Temple of the Tooth and the assassination, I think, of one or two other members. Thereafter, I've asked the intelligence agencies to identify all the Muslims under detention after April Easter bomb can be released. We've asked the Scotland Yard to come in, review the reports and come to a final conclusion on this whole issue. Was there a hidden hand behind the bombing? And if so, who's the hidden hand? Reconstruction plans will be reviewed and accelerated. Then we are bringing out the northern plan, development plan. With renewable energy, North will become a big economic center, followed by the Trincomalee development scheme. So with renewable energy and Trincomalee development, we have a big issue there. Then the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We are also bringing in the new anti-terrorist legislation. I'm going to call the parliament to say once and for all that they must agree on electoral reform. This has been going on. The parties are arguing among themselves. I give them 6 months. If they don't, I'll have a referendum and ask the country which system they want. Because the political parties can't be putting this off forever. They have to bite the bullet at some stage. So if they are not willing, I have not told them yet, we'll go for a referendum on the major reforms. Then Mr. Karujaya Surya and Victor Ivan has come up with the People's Council at grassroots level. We are giving them support, whatever finance they require. And the officials at grassroots level have been asked to promote the concepts. So it will be done not by us. And that's a request even with the goal face green, that people at village level must be allowed to express their views. So there will be 14,000 People's Councils in the 14,000 basic units. We are giving a moratorium for the bank moratorium for the print media. We are setting up a climate change office. We want to make that one of our priorities, looking at the whole question of debt swap for agriculture. As I mentioned earlier, looking for is an export-oriented, very competitive market economy. I think we have the opportunity of supplying South Asia and Southeast and East Asia. Our focus is on competitiveness and export market. That's where we are working, looking at the Industry 4 technology and modernizing agriculture. If you look at the region, by 2050, from Saudi to Indonesia, there will be additional 500 million mouths to feed at a high income level. Sri Lanka will remain at this 25 million. We won't increase our numbers. And there will be older segments will increase, but if we go into modernized agriculture, we can capture part of that market. Agriculture needs technology, needs help, and we have small holdings, but we do that. We'll also go for outgrow projects. Those are the part of that. Secondly, even in manufacturing and others, we are going to semi-automation to automation. If our population is 25 million, it's an aging population, then automation and semi-automation is one way out for Sri Lanka. It will be capital intensive, but we're looking at technology, the service sectors. It's a complete modernization. And by 2048, we have to become a prosperous economy using the Chinese term. But 2048 is the centenary of our independence. So the plans and the roadmaps will come from 2023. It's a 25-year program to go ahead. So this is where we will need your assistance. Gone through most of the programs that are there and looking at some of the private sector ones, I just would like to mention. Firstly, partner program which was meant to help the Ministry of Finance ended up under last government with the EDB. Since we are going to merge the EDB and the BOI together and then take the infrastructure part out as a separate organization where we are good at running the zones, we are the best run zones in the region, we will have to discuss on the part. We like all the help into the Finance Ministry. We do need help and advice to be debureaucratized as well as the new aspects that we are opening up. Even education at some stage, I thought we'll bring in some of the associate degree in here, which can be a employment-oriented degree with 2 years, rather than go for the bachelor's degrees for all. So we help in having your associated degrees that are in community colleges would certainly be welcomed by Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, we have uh, given up $1.4 billion worth of MCC projects. We had $1 billion in 2004, and we had nearly 500 million. But that is nothing compared to the fact that we gave up 3 billion from Japan. So all counts to 4.5 billion. So we have now got to pull ourselves up by the bootstrap and understand what all this means. So I think there's much we can do with certainly on agricultural modernization of the ongoing projects. There is a concern that the tax is too restrictive. It is research is on capital markets, business development services, and mostly desk research. But we need more implementation assistance on sourcing technology and new partners. So development project this time is in limited areas. And if we can really expand on tips are the success story, which we started in, I was the minister who started that. Tips is, I think, what we want to do is just push them to become competitive and get out onto the export market. And all those retired executives who come here have done a great job for many of our private sector firms. So what we'd like to see is really an increase on the private sector side, because they are the ones who have to carry this. And we would like to talk about it in detail. I could ask them to talk with Julie and others to work out, but really it's two things: private sector reform and also personnel to restructure the government, starting with the treasury. But we want to strengthen the cabinet office, so we will be getting that from UK. I'm speaking to Mark Fulbrook.